When you think of the biggest aircraft ever built, your mind probably jumps to a Boeing 747 or maybe the Airbus A380. But there was one aircraft that completely dwarfed them both. An aircraft so massive that people would stop their cars just to watch it fly overhead. An aircraft powered by 6 big engines, carrying cargo so heavy that most planes wouldn't even attempt to move it. This was the Antonov An-225 Mriya. And today, on Explaining the Skies, we're taking a look at the story of the world's largest aircraft ever built. The story of the An-225 begins during the Cold War in the 1980s. At the time, the Soviet Union was developing its own space shuttle program, known as Buran. Now, there was a major problem. The Buran spacecraft and its rocket components were enormous, and they needed a way to transport them across the Soviet Union quickly. So, Soviet engineers turned to Antonov's design Buran, an aircraft manufacturer already famous for producing giant cargo aircraft. Their solution? Take the already huge Antonov An-125 cargo plane and make it even bigger. Yes, bigger. And this result? Well, as you might have guessed, the An-225 Mriya. Now, little fun fact for you guys. Mriya actually means dream in Ukrainian. Before I even planned on this, I didn't even know that. So, the more you know, I guess. And it is a fitting name, since the aircraft, just look at this. This, back in the 1980s, I'm pretty sure this would probably be something from like 2100 or something. Its first flight was in 1988. Yes, 1988. And immediately it became the largest aircraft ever to take to the skies. To put its size into perspective, the An-225 was about 84 meters long. Its wingspan stretched nearly 89 meters across. It had 32 different wheels, and it was powered by 6 gigantic turbofan engines. Just one engine alone produced absurd levels of thrust. Together, they allowed the aircraft to carry payloads weighing hundreds of tons. In fact, the An-225 still holds multiple world records for air cargo transport, including the heaviest cargo ever carried by an aircraft. What made the plane even more unusual was its design. Unlike normal cargo aircraft, the An-225 had twin vertical stabilizers on its tail. Now that wasn't just for appearance, as it was actually designed to carry large cargo externally on the top of the fuselage, including the Soviet Buran space shuttle itself. Here's a photo if you don't know what it looks like. A normal tail configuration would have disrupted airflow too much, so engineers split the tail into 2 sections. It looked futuristic even by today's standards. But then the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and suddenly the An-225 lost its original purpose. The Buran program was cancelled, and for a while the aircraft was placed into storage and essentially left unused. And honestly, that could have been the end of the story. But the An-225 got a second life. In the early 2000s, the aircraft returned to service as a heavy cargo transport aircraft, and this is where it became legendary worldwide. The An-225 started transporting things that no other aircraft on Earth could handle. Massive power generators, locomotives, military equipment, wind turbine blades, emergency supplies. If something was unbelievably large or heavy, chances were the An-225 could move it. Whenever it landed somewhere, crowds gathered near airports just to witness this beauty. Aviation fans travelled across countries for the chance to see it once in person. And honestly, even people who weren't into aviation were impressed by it, because it didn't just look large, it looked unreal. The aircraft became especially important during global emergencies. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the An-225 transported huge amounts of medical supplies across the world, such as masks, protective equipment, medical aid, you name it. At a time when countries desperately needed fast transport capacity, the aircraft became more valuable than ever. But in 2022, tragedy struck. During the Russian invasion of Ukraine, fighting broke out near Hostomel Airport, where the An-225 was stored. As battles intensified around the airport, the aircraft was severely damaged and ultimately destroyed. For many aviation enthusiasts, it genuinely felt like losing a piece of history. Not just because it was famous, but because there was only one An-225 ever completed. One. There are larger ships, larger buildings, but there has never been another aircraft quite like the Mriya. Images of the destroyed aircraft spread rapidly online, and tributes came from all over the world. It showed just how iconic the plane had become, not only in aviation circles, but globally. However, the story may not be completely over. Antonov officials have discussed rebuilding the aircraft using unfinished parts from a second An-225 airframe that was never completed. The project would be incredibly expensive and technically challenging, but even the idea of rebuilding the Mriya shows how important the aircraft became to people around the world. Because the An-225 wasn't just a cargo plane, it became a symbol of engineering, of ambition, and honestly, of human imagination. It proved that sometimes engineers will look at a problem and decide the solution is simply make the aircraft bigger. And somehow, it worked. The Antonov An-225 Mriya remains the heaviest aircraft ever built and one of the most legendary machines in aviation history. And even years after its destruction, people still remember the sound of those 6 engines roaring overhead. Thank you for listening to Explaining the Skies, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye!